Good morning. I'm Councillor Diane Donaldson and I'll be chairing this hearing of Subcommittee A of the Licensing and Public Protection Committee of Birmingham City Council. Before we start, can you all please mute your microphones for the moment in order to improve the sound quality whilst I outline the procedure? Can you also please turn off your cameras with the exception of committee members unless you are the person speaking? This is to reduce bandwidth. Committee members will have their cameras switched on throughout the hearing. Could everyone attending today's meeting please put their mobile phones on silent and ensure they are situated in a room or environment which is free from distractions or any unnecessary noise emanating from radios, TVs, etc. Thank you for that. I'm speaking slowly and clearly so everyone can follow. It is vitally important, for what I hope are obvious reasons, that those attending the meeting and making representations are able to hear me and members of my subcommittee and officers. Any distractions brought to my attention could result in the meeting being suspended temporarily or to another date and time under regulations for these types of meetings. I also confirm this is a public meeting and therefore is being live streamed on the City Council's website in order that the general public can view it. I advise that this meeting will be webcast for live or subsequent broadcast via the Council's meeting YouTube site. The address is in the agenda. And that members of the press public may record and take photographs except where there are confidential or exempt items. Members are reminded they must declare all relevant pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests arising from any business to be discussed at this meeting. If a disclosable pecuniary interest is declared, a member must not speak or take part in that agenda item. Any declarations were recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Apologies were submitted on behalf of Councillor Phil Davis and myself, Councillor Diane Donaldson, was a nominated substitute member. Can I welcome you to this hearing for an application in respect of the licence for Coleshill Nurseries, Coleshill Road, Sutton Coldfield, B75 7BA. I'll begin with some introductions. My name is Councillor Diane Donaldson and I'm chairing this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. With me are other members of the subcommittee, Councillors Martin Straker-Wells and Bob Beecham. Also present are the following officers. Licensing Officer Shahid Yasser.
Morning, Chair.
Good morning. Committee Manager Katie Townsend.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning. And Committee Lawyer Joanne Swampillai.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning. Could I ask all parties to identify themselves, please? Firstly, the applicant.
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Chair. My name's Frank Fender. I'm the agent representing the applicant, and also present with me is Peter Lugg. He's the chairman of Sutton United Football Club, but he comes up as Sales on your screen.
Okay. Next, those making representations. I'm not sure we have anyone present.
We don't have anyone present, Chair.
Thank you. Could I ask if any persons making representations wishes to withdraw their representations at this stage of the hearing? There's no one present. I'll move on to the rules. I will assume that all parties have read and understood the Licensing Committee's procedural rules sent out with the notice of today's hearing. Please note that given the nature of today's proceedings, I may at my discretion amend the procedural rules to reflect the fact that this meeting is taking place online. But wish to assure you that any such amendments will not impact on the party's right to a fair hearing. We'll be using the chat function in Microsoft Teams to communicate. One of the icons on your toolbar is a speech bubble. Click on the speech bubble to go into chat. If you do not have access to the chat function for any reason, please use the raise a hand function to indicate you wish to speak. That button is usually fourth from the right on the toolbar. You can also, of course, indicate verbally that you wish to speak at the appropriate time. Can you all confirm that you have access to the chat facility by typing your own name now? Officers will also type their job title. The meeting will not proceed until you have all done so. Is that everyone, Katie?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Please keep this chat column open for the entire duration of the meeting in order that everyone can follow the messages being posted in the chat. If any participant has dialed in on an auto telephone rather than Microsoft Teams, please speak now to confirm that you can hear and be heard. I don't think we have anybody dialing in today. With the exception of the subcommittee members, please keep your camera off unless you're the person speaking. If there are any problems with bandwidth, which causes difficulty with the sound, I may, in my discretion, ask everyone to turn their cameras off in order that the meeting can proceed with everyone able to hear and be heard. Does anyone wish to make any preliminary points at this stage? If so, please indicate that you wish to raise a point by typing speak into the chat function or using the raise a hand function now. Thank you. I'll now briefly outline the procedure that we'll be following at today's hearing. Firstly, the licensing officer, Shahid Yasser, will present the report. Then the applicant will be asked to present their case. We're asking if this can be kept to approximately 20 minutes. Next, those making representations will be invited to make their case. Again, approximately 20 minutes will be allowed for this part of the hearing. Can ask all parties to speak as slowly and as clearly as they possibly can. Because the officers are taking notes by hand for the minutes, and the meeting is also being live streamed on the City Council's website. If at any time it's somebody else's turn to speak, please mute your microphones and use the chat function to communicate if necessary. Please note that members of the subcommittee will be able to ask questions at any stage, but we'll try to do so at the conclusion of each presentation. Cross-examination by the applicant and those making representations will not be permitted unless the members consider it appropriate. Where questions are raised by members of the subcommittee or those present, they must signify this using the chat facility set out on the right-hand side of the screen you're viewing this meeting on. The meeting manager will alert me if I do not notice messages in the chat. I will determine verbally or in writing on the chat facility the order in which questions are dealt with. So at any point in the meeting, if you wish to speak, please type the word speak into the chat function. And the meeting manager will ensure that we come to you at the appropriate moment. If at any point you cannot hear or are having problems with your internet connection, please use the chat facility to alert the meeting manager. The Chair will then ask the person speaking to repeat what they have just said. It is therefore important that you use the chat function as soon as you're unable to hear the person speaking. It may well be that the problem is caused by people still having their microphones or cameras on, which creates interference. So I will remind everyone, please mute your microphones and turn off your cameras when you are not the person speaking. Could I point out occasionally it may be necessary for the subcommittee to take legal advice. At my discretion, I may ask all parties to wait in this meeting whilst members and the relevant officers withdraw to take legal advice using a separate meeting within Microsoft Teams. Then we'll return to this meeting and continue. Please note, if at any time the live stream being broadcast on the City Council's website fails, I will ask you all to mute your microphones and cameras and to stop speaking until the live stream is restored. If at any time this meeting goes into private session, the meeting manager will pause the live stream. Once the private part of the meeting is over, I will ask the meeting manager to confirm that the live stream has resumed before we continue. At the conclusion of the hearing, I will invite all parties to make a brief closing submission. Can I stress no decision will be taken until all the evidence has been heard. At the decision-making stage, the members and the relevant officers will withdraw from this meeting in order to determine the decision. They will go into a separate Microsoft Teams meeting. In the event that members need to clarify any point, you will be telephoned by the meeting manager. The members will then make their decision. You will be notified of the decision of the subcommittee within 5 working days. I hope that's reasonably straightforward. So with that, can I ask Licensing Officer Shahid Yasser to present the report, please? As slowly and clearly as you can, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Sutton United Football Club applied on the 14th of January 2022 for the grant of a premises licence for Sutton United Football Club, Coleshill Nurseries, Coleshill Road, Sutton Coldfield, B75 7BA. Councillors, the purpose of the report before you today is to consider the representations that have been made in respect of an application for a premises licence which seeks to permit the sale of alcohol for consumption both on and off the premises to operate from 10 AM until 11 PM Sunday to Thursday and 10 AM until 1 AM Friday and Saturday. The provision of regulated entertainment consisting of live music to operate indoors only from 10 AM until 11 PM Sunday to Thursday and 10 AM until 11:30 PM Friday and Saturday as agreed with Environmental Health. Recorded music and performance of dance to operate indoors only from 10 AM until 11 PM Sunday to Thursday and 10 AM until 1 AM Friday and Saturday. To permit the provision of late night refreshment to operate indoors only from 11 PM until 1 AM Friday and Saturday. The premises wish to remain open to the public from 8 AM until 11:30 PM Sunday to Thursday and 8 AM until 1:30 AM Friday and Saturday. There is other dates that are specified in the application form. The representation has been received from other persons, and one of them is attached to Appendix 1 of your report, and the other one is attached as supporting documents at the end of your report. The application is attached to Appendix 2. Conditions have been agreed with Environmental Health and the applicant, which are attached to Appendix 3. Conditions have also been agreed with Birmingham City Council Licensing Enforcement, and these are attached to Appendix 4 of your report. There's also some site location plans at Appendix 5. Now, when carrying out its licensing functions, a licensing authority must have regard to Birmingham City Council's Statement of Licensing Policy and the guidance issued by the Secretary of State under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. The licensing authority is also required to take such steps as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. The options which are available to you today are to grant the license in accordance with the application, to reject the application, to grant the license subject to conditions modified to such an extent as considered appropriate, exclude from the license any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, or refuse to specify a person in the license as the premises supervisor. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Shahid. Would the applicant like to make their presentation now, please?
Yes, good morning, Chair. Good morning, councillors. My name's Frank Fender. I'm representing the applicant today, which is Sutton United Football Club, based in Sutton Coldfield. The football club have recently acquired the football facilities at Coleshill Nurseries on Coleshill Road. They also have another facility located in Hollyfield Road, also in Sutton Coldfield. Before I go on to address you with respect of the application, I'd like you to hear from the chairman of Sutton United Football Club, who I'd like to give an overview of the planned site use and the development of the clubhouse. Peter, could you do that, please?
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name's Peter Logg. I'm the chairman of Sutton United Football Club. The club in itself is actually celebrating its 75th anniversary this year. We've got 34 teams ranging from under sevens through to veterans, and that's male and female. The main reason for the facility is because certainly with the weather conditions we get throughout our winters, we're trying to get places to do our winter training, and obviously with the growth of the club, it's becoming more difficult to find a venue. Bearing in mind that we're actually spread across 7 or 8 venues across the city at the minute, and with the growth of those teams that already have the venues, it's becoming, as I said, a real difficult process for us to fulfil. So we've been planning for the venue for the past 6 years, and we've finally got the planning permission for the facility 3 years ago. This application would then have been progressing, but it's obviously had to be put back a little somewhat because of the COVID situation. The main reason for needing the bar license and premises license is, I think, basically to fund the operation that we've got, because as part of the planning, it'll be a 3G outdoor football pitch with floodlighting. So there's a fair amount of cost there, which we're going to need to try and cover. The venue itself, we hope to make available, well, we will make available to the local schools, and we've already been in some communication with those. And we intend to offer it out to other groups as well, so to make it a good facility for the community and not just our football teams. What I would say is regarding the licence ourselves, I think for the actual later evening facility would be more used predominantly by the parents of the football teams or the older senior teams, and I think therefore it's quite important to realise that they're more of a mature age group, should I say, and I would expect them to be responsible and certainly considerate to our neighbours, of which the majority of the neighbours, luckily for us, are also our members. So hopefully you can grant the licence for us. It's something that would be really good for the community, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Peter. Chair, you've heard that the football club have other premises in Hollyfield Road. They actually benefit from a club premises certificate and have done certainly since 2005. and probably long before that date under the previous legislation. The newly obtained facility in Coleshill Road, the premises subject of today's application, they also used to have an authority to sell alcohol under a club premises certificate when that premises was operated by a different football club. That certificate was surrendered in January 2017. Hence, a new application before you today for a premises licence. I'll just point that out, Chair, because Sutton United Football Club are experienced operators of licensed premises. They're not new to the game. They have considerable experience. The application is laid before you in your report and was brought up by your licensing officer. The summary of the application is produced at paragraph 1 on page 3. I don't intend to repeat the activities and times applied for. You've had the report, you will have read that report thoroughly. I will reiterate that all licensable activity applied for will take place inside the clubhouse premises on the site. No licensable activity will be taking place in the outdoors. When the application was submitted, several measures were proposed to promote the licensing objectives. If you are minded to grant today's application, those measures will be conditions attached to the licence. These measures can be seen on pages 22 and 23 of your report. The measures include things like staff training, provision of CCTV, maintenance of incident logs, no use of the outside areas after 2300 hours except for smokers, windows and doors remaining closed, and the implementation of a Challenge 25 age verification policy. All of these measures will ensure that these premises are operated safely and without causing any issues for the authorities or for local people. Following the submission of the application, discussions followed with the Environmental Health Officer and your licensing service. During these discussions, further conditions were proposed and agreed, conditions which can be seen on pages 28 and 29 of your report. It was also agreed by the applicant for 2 previously proposed measures to be reworded. This was proposed by the licensing officer, and these can be seen on page 30. Dialogue with any application for a premises licence is healthy, and that has proved to be the case with this application. The applicant's acceptance of the proposed additional conditions shows a commitment to working with the authorities to ensure the promotion of the licensing objectives. There are, of course, 2 representations. The first from a Mr. Pike on page 5 of your report. The second from a lady called Sharon Flanagan, who lives 74 Coleshill Road, which is the house next to the road which leads from Coleshill Road to the football club premises. That representation is at the back of your report on pages 33 to 35. It's not clear where Mr. Pike lives. That information hasn't been made known to me, but the representation from Mr. Pike is contained in one sentence, that he believes the granting of the licence will cause late night issues regarding noise and trouble when people are leaving the premises. There is no supporting evidence to this statement. It's his perception. On receipt of that representation from Mr. Pike, I sent him an email. I did this because I was not sure if he was aware of the additional conditions which were agreed with the licensing authority and the Environmental Health Officer. So I wanted to make him aware of what had been agreed with a view to asking him if he wished to reconsider his rep. No response has been received to that email. I received the representation from Sharon Flanagan last Tuesday. Her representation makes several references to what has happened in the past. Alleged glass and bottles thrown into her garden, damage to her fence where people had climbed onto it. What is not clear from the representation, and clearly she's not here today to answer, is how she knows that that activity was caused by people who had been using the football club premises. Her home is 150 metres from the football club premises, and there has not been any sales of alcohol made from those football club premises since the previous club certificate was surrendered in January 2017, over 5 years ago. I can also say that even when alcohol was sold at those premises over 5 years ago, no glasses or bottles were sold. Everything was sold in cans. We know this because there was a liaison between the existing football club using those premises and Sutton United Football Club. The same similar sort of people were involved in the running of that previous licence. Also under that previous certificate, licensable activity only took place on days when football matches took place, and the premises were usually closed by approximately 7 o'clock in the evening. It was a case of a football match, some post-match drinks, and then people making their way home or to other destinations. It may be, of course, that Miss Flanagan is referring to people gathering in the area of the football club buildings whilst they were closed. Access to that area would have been simple, as there was no security fencing, no gates. But what I can say is that the issues alleged in her representation were not as a result of those premises operating. You have heard from the chairman of the football club how the sports pitch and club facilities are being developed. This development includes security fencing and gated access, which means that when the premises are closed, they will be secure. There will be no access for groups of people who wish to congregate there. I believe that this will alleviate many of the issues which are alleged by Ms Flanagan. In conclusion, Chair, the development of the football pitch to an all-weather facility and club premises is an exciting venture which will create a safe and regulated environment for many, many people from the local community. There will be many local teams looking to book the all-weather facility for their training and for their matches. It is anticipated that other community groups will also be looking to use the facilities. They are a very sought after facility. The clubhouse will not only be used for licensable activity, of course, it will be used as a cafe type facility as well. It will enable the football club to have functions for all sorts of groups and families. It will undoubtedly become a welcome addition to the local area. The application has resulted in 2 representations. You have heard my comments regarding these. There are many, many more residents in that local area who have not made a representation. There is no representation from the police. If disorder or antisocial behaviour was likely as a result of this application being granted today, then I feel sure the police would have made a representation in their own right. In fact, I discussed the application with the police licensing officer during the consultation process. He was very positive about the application, very happy with the proposed measures, and was confident that they would alleviate any concerns. The applicant is similarly confident that the premises will be operated with no issues for local people nor for the authorities, and we would ask you to grant the licence today as applied for with the agreed amendments between the Environmental Health Officer and the licensing authority. Thank you for your time, Chair.
Thank you, Mr Fender. At this point, we normally call in the representations, but no one here is present to give their representations. But I can assure everyone that the representations have been received with the report and will be taken into consideration. Finally, does the applicant wish to make a closing submission?
Rather than just repeat everything that I've said, Councillor, I'm sure you don't want to hear that again. The measures are important, the measures to promote the licence and objectives. We're very confident that those measures, if adopted, will alleviate any concerns for local people. The premises will undoubtedly be a well-run venue and a credit to the local area. And for that reason, we would ask you to grant. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fender. I will now ask all parties to leave the Microsoft Teams meeting, and the members, the committee lawyer and the committee manager will go into private session while the subcommittee makes its decision.
Chairman, do we not get
I've skipped over. Yeah, sorry, councillors. Members' questions. Are there any questions from members?
Yes, please.
Councillor Beecher.
Some clarification, if I may, before we make the decision. One being the outside area and smoking outside. Is smoking and drinking allowed in the smoking area? That's one.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, do you want me to list them or wait for you to answer them?
Yeah, if I can answer that, please, Councillor.
Thank you.
It's been agreed with the Environmental Health Officer that the smoking area will be around the back of the club premises, which faces onto the football facility rather than faces onto the nearest local houses. There is a measure within the report, within the application, which the Environmental Health Officer were happy with, that that area should, yes, people can take their drinks out there, but not after 11 o'clock at night. After 11 o'clock at night, that area would only be used for the purpose of smoking, and then people would not be able to take drinks out after that time.
Thank you. Entertainment. The entertainment is all to be done inside the premises. Am I correct?
Yeah, yes, that's correct. Any music entertainment will be inside the premises. Live music was initially applied for up until 1 AM on a Friday and Saturday. Following discussion with the Environmental Health Officer, it was agreed that live music should end at 11:30 PM on a Friday and Saturday, and not until the 1 o'clock applied for. That was agreed with the applicant. But the other recorded music entertainment, performance of dance, that can take place inside the premises if you are minded to grant today, up until 1 AM. And there are further measures that when regulated entertainment takes place, all windows and doors of the premises will remain closed, with the exception of people accessing or egressing from the premises.
Thank you. Is there a membership policy for the club? Or is it open to all?
The club would be open to all, but as you heard from the chairman, they have a very large membership themselves. Obviously, it's expected that the majority of attendees will be from the Sutton United Football Club, but applying for a premises licence means that access could be granted to people that weren't members as well.
Thank you. Can you clarify 3G for me, by the way?
That one might be best left to the chairman. It's an artificial surface, and Peter, are you able to come in and answer that, please?
Yeah, you're correct, Frank. It is just the latest in artificial grass. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I was intrigued to know what that was. And you did, smoking and drinking mixed is a concern. Is there anything to stop people taking drinks outside when they are using the smoking area?
You're on mute. Mr.
No, I'm
Fender.
not.
I beg your pardon, sorry, Chair.
It's okay.
Happens all the time. There's nothing to stop people taking their drinks outside whilst they're smoking. There is a measure within the application that any drinks taken outside are decanted into plastic or similar containers, not glass. Clearly, that's for the safety of others.
Thank you. That goes for all the alcohol that goes out there, or simply for the beer?
Well, I think the application mentions any drinks, so that would apply across the board, Chair.
Thank you. Thanks for your help. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Beecham. Councillor Strother-Wells, any questions?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, please, two, if I may. The point was made by the Chair that the bar is effectively going to help to subsidise the activities, and there seem to be quite a large number of activities across the, I think something like 34 teams mentioned and all the other activities. But that suggests that you're going to be having quite a large number of punters coming to the take part in the entertainment and indeed in the bar. Roughly how many, as an average, would you expect to see of an evening?
Peter, could you take that one, please?
Yeah, for clarification, the 34 teams, they're the ones that participate in the football throughout the weekend. So they'll be playing football matches on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon. The events that we would consider would not be attended by all of those. Experience tells me I would have said around 100 people for an event, a booked event that we've put on, but on a regular basis for weekday evenings, I'd be happy if we had 20 to 30 people there. Whilst on that subject, I just wanted to add, I don't know whether we discussed the extra condition regarding the coming outside for the smoking. We did agree with the officer that we'd put a lobby in as we come out the clubhouse. So once you open the first door for the smokers to come out, there would then be a little porch lobby area to allow for that door to close, for then another door to open. So that should seriously limit the noise as well. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, Chair, my second question was going to be about noise. And the suggestion is that the noise will be contained within the building and there won't be any music or entertainment outside the building. So the first question I was going to seek is a reassurance that the noise level really will be so controlled and that it won't be allowed to escape through windows and through other devices, but also how you absolutely ensure that there is no noise escaping outside. And I'm not making any derogatory statement. I'm simply saying that high spirits, a love of music, a love of sport, and perhaps a sense of euphoria might let people feel that they have the freedom to go onto the pitch. You've made the point that the pitch is not facing towards the neighbours, but there would still be the possibility of noise if people did go outside and want to have their own party.
Yeah, the first answer to that is it's not possible because the pitch is a very expensive, and the project itself is costing over £1 million. So the pitch, we would not allow under any circumstances anyone to go onto that pitch without the correct footwear, without the lights on, or if it's an evening time, and we wouldn't be turning lights on because obviously there's a cost to that. So it would be fully secure, and they would certainly not be allowed to go on to the pitch. The only other thing I would say is two things with the noise. One is it is a minimum of 150 metres away to the nearest household. The other three sides are a railway track, which covers the whole side of a pitch. There's an allotments which will be closed, which is the other side of the pitch, and then actually the Birmingham City Council nurseries, which will also be closed. So there's no one really too close apart from just that one edge, which is within 150 metres. And as I said at the start, I truly believe that the type of people that without categorising too much, but the people that will be likely to be using the facilities if and when we do hold an evening event are more likely to be the parents or the more mature adults, which, as I said at the start, would certainly be considerate to the neighbours.
May I add to that, please, Chair?
Certainly.
Another of the measures that's been agreed with the Environmental Health Officer, and this can be seen on page 28 of your report, is that there must be a noise management plan submitted to the Environmental Protection Unit, a management plan which includes details of staff monitoring noise, staff going to the boundary of their premises, doing a subjective test of monitoring, and then taking any remedial action that was considered to be necessary. For example, just go in and turn any noise or any music down. But as you've heard from the chairman there, they consider this to be extremely unlikely, bearing in mind the locality and the surrounding area. But nonetheless, the measure has been agreed with the Environmental Health Officer, and those records will be maintained.
Thank you, Mr. Fender. Just one question from me. During the summer months, how will it work with the doors and windows being shut? Is there a cooling system in place or some sort of air conditioning?
Peter, one for you, please.
Yeah, we are actually having air conditioning put into the building.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all the questions from members. So now we will go into the private session, and the subcommittee will make its decision. You'll be notified of this decision of the subcommittee within 5 working days. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.